Speaker. Question number 1 to the Prime Minister. Will the Prime Minister confirm whether the quote-unquote threat to national security that led to the swift removal of the head of the Strategic Services Agency by the Cabinet originated from information and or advice from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, the Cabinet received no advice from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. The Cabinet received information from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and without more, the Cabinet acted.
Member for Oropouche East.
Could the Prime Minister, in light of his answer, indicate whether this information came from the Commissioner of Police?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I am not prepared to engage in any debate on this matter. As a responsible Prime Minister of a responsible government, these matters will take their course and eventually end up where they are supposed to.
Member for Oropouche East.
Thank you very much. Madam Speaker, could the Prime Minister indicate to his knowledge whether retired Major Peter Best is the subject of any Trinidad and Tobago police investigation at this time?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I am not aware of any person called Peter Best.
Member for Oropouche East.
The retired Major Peter Best?
Question?
Yeah, another question. In light of the responses, Madam Speaker, could the Prime Minister indicate whether the police involvement in this matter, beginning at 4 a.m. on Sunday morning, has compromised the integrity of surveillance and intelligence gathering by the Strategic Services Agency?
Prime Minister. Prime Minister.
Roger.
Is that question 2?
Question 1. Question 2. Yes,
Question
question 2.
Supplemental. Ma'am, it was a supplemental.
Get your act together.
Yes, Roger.
A question? Yes, Prime Minister.
Could the question be asked again, please?
Supplemental, Madam Speaker. Could the Prime Minister indicate whether he is aware or has knowledge that retired Major Roger Best is the subject of any police investigation?
Prime Minister.
That is not the question you just asked me.
Supplemental question arising under question 1.
Oh. I have to be confused so I can answer in a confused way.
Just no. 1 minute. I take it that the question that is being asked is the latter question.
It's the last question, ma'am, on question 1, a supplemental.
Yes.
Should I repeat it? The Prime Minister may not have grasped my earlier question.
There may be a little confusion because of how the questions were
Could
asked.
I repeat?
Please.
Yes. Prime Minister, are you aware or do you have knowledge that retired Major Roger Best, head of the Strategic Services Agency, is the subject of any police investigation or inquiry? Is that clear enough?
It's very clear, Madam Speaker. Now it's very clear. I'm not prepared to discuss confidential police work with you or anybody. That's called tipping off.
Member for Oropouche East.
Supplemental? Yes. Prime Minister, could you confirm whether or not the Strategic Services Agency has been undertaking surveillance and intelligence gathering on 2 senior cabinet ministers in this country that led to the dismissal of the head of the SSA?
That question is out of order in accordance with the standing orders. Okay, question 2.
Sorry, Madam Speaker, before you proceed, can I get clarity? Aren't you allowed 3 supplementals?
You allowed four.
Four
for Prime Minister.
supplementals? All right.
Question 2.
Yes, Madam Speaker, it appears there's some confusion on the other side. Question number 2. Will the Prime Minister indicate whether any of the critical surveillance and intelligence gathering work of the Strategic Services Agency have been suspended by the recent removal of the head of the Strategic Services Agency?
Prime Minister.
No.
Member for Oropouche East.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Could the Prime Minister indicate whether the findings of the probe being undertaken by Brigadier General retired Anthony Philip Spencer, the findings of that probe will be laid in the Parliament?
Member for Oropouche East, based on the original question asked and the response given by the Prime Minister, that does not rise, so it's out of order in accordance with the standing order.
Thank you.
Member for Oropouche East.
Yes, Madam Speaker, could the Prime Minister indicate, pursuant to question number 2 as a supplemental now, whether the police involvement in the pre-dawn exercise at the SSA headquarters would have compromised the integrity of intelligence and reports undertaken by the SSA?
Again, member, on the same basis, this supplemental is also out of order. Member for Oropouche East.
Thank you very much. Supplemental to the Honourable Prime Minister. Prime Minister, could you indicate and confirm whether or not the new acting head of the SSA is authorized in law to undertake interception of communication?
Again, member, based on question number 2 and these questions and answers given thus far, I rule that supplemental question 3 is out of order.
Okay. Madam Speaker, pursuant to question 2, another supplemental comes. With regard to the recent activity at the offices of the SSA, would the Prime Minister indicate whether there is a concern by the government that critical surveillance and intelligence work could be disrupted?
Prime Minister.
No.
Member for Oropouche East, question number 3.
Oh, yes. Question 3. Question number 3. Will the Prime Minister provide the House with the cost to taxpayers for hosting and broadcasting on all media the Prime Minister's conversations held on Tuesday, 5th March 2024? Maybe the answer is no as well.
Member, could
Thank
you
you.
please let me know what the question is so I know
Question
if to
3.
allow it? Please, read it according to what is
Sure.
approved here.
Well, I'll do so again. Will the Prime Minister provide the House with the cost to taxpayers for hosting and broadcasting on all media the Prime Minister's conversations held on Tuesday, 5th March 2024?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, this is Wednesday, the 6th. A few hours since this meeting was held. The ink on the invoices might not yet be dry, and I'm in no position now to answer that. But if the appropriate notice is given, appropriate time will be had, and the answer will be given.
Member for Couva South.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Prime Minister, given the Prime Minister's public indication that he is willing to meet with the families of the 4 divers of the Paria tragedy, will the Prime Minister state whether he has reached out to the families with the intent of holding the said meeting?
Prime Minister.
Madam Speaker, I made no commitment to reach out to any family to hold any meeting. I did indicate when I was told that members of the family or a member of the family wanted to meet with me and whether I would meet. And I indicated that if such a request came, I would meet with. I have received no such request.
Member for Couva South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Prime Minister, given the current financial status of the families and taking into consideration recommendation 39 of the Commission of Inquiry, has pointed the government in a direction of assisting the families without admitting any liability from a pariah point of view. Has the Cabinet given approval or consideration to implementing recommendation 39 of the Commission of Inquiry?
Member, I rule that question out of order. Member for Cooper South.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Prime Minister, given if there is any meeting of both sides from your office and the families as it relates to making a meeting a reality, will the Cabinet consider, or has the Cabinet considered that taking into consideration recommendation 41 of the Commission of Inquiry states that the pariah board be charged with corporate manslaughter, will the Cabinet consider the removal of the board before there is any meeting with the families?
Madam Speaker, notwithstanding the best effort at cherry picking, as Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago facing this legal conundrum and liabilities wherever they may lie, I will take very good care to ensure that I do not involve the Office of the Prime Minister in any legal exposure for the taxpayer.
Member for Naparima.
To the Prime Minister, given that 5 fishermen recently went missing, is the Prime Minister satisfied that the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard is fulfilling its mandate of providing border security and search and rescue services through the conduct of maritime security patrols?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the answer is yes. The Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard has been engaged in a search and rescue mission for these missing persons from the first call it received from the police on Sunday, 25th February 2024 at 6:35 p.m. That mission continues, Madam Speaker. However, it is believed that these citizens may have gone into Venezuelan territory, which is outside the jurisdiction of the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard. Yet, the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard is in contact with the Venezuelan authorities as they seek to find them. A body was found on a beach in Venezuela, believed by family members to be that of their loved one, but this is still being verified. The Coast Guard is still in contact.
Member for Naparima.
Thank you. Prime Minister, as head of the National Security Council,